So we all know the LCS is home to amazing quality gameplay, some of the best in the world, some of the most entertaining games that you can watch. And yeah, we're the fourth best region in the world, but also we have always succeeded in content. We were a content region before anything else, and still kind of are. I know there's a lot of League of Legends fans that don't watch traditional sports. I know that that's not a major crossover demographic, but for somebody like me, and quite frankly, the millions of others that play sports and also enjoy League of Legends, including Olympic champion Noah Lyles, many of us grew up watching ESPN. And the type of content that we wanted to see from esports was actually stuff that is already mirrored in traditional sports. And honestly, not things that we've seen over the last year or two, as the broadcast has gone a little bit more relaxed with their content, especially on game days. It's the lounge with some funny segments leading into the broadcast, and then the broadcast is over. What's always amazed me is that Riot never tried to do weekday content. I mean, we have some stuff. You have the dive currently ongoing. To their credit, the LCS has done a phenomenal job at some of the more podcast related stuff, including face to face, where they will sit down two pros from an individual team and have them kind of talk out some of the things, even if it does kind of feel forced a little bit because the players are the ones ultimately driving that conversation. Even if you have like chat there, the players only say so much. The players aren't really like the personal and kind of content creator side of it. I'm glad that they're front and center. I don't think that should ever go away, because some of them are great on camera. You look at Sven, for example, every episode that he appeared on Pros last year, which is like a 50-minute podcast that comes out each and every week and is filmed right after the LCS is done. Everybody seems to love him. He's got a good mind. He's funny on camera. It's entertaining. The one other series that was ongoing that I don't really think happened much in summer was Are You Smarter, which is basically kind of Family Feud, kind of Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader? It's more of a game show type thing than anything else. But I was thinking the other day, what content are we missing from the LCS space? What else could fill in these weekday gaps where like I get off work and I'm tuning into some sort of LCS video or like watching some sort of show the same way for ESPN, I'm watching Pat McAfee during the day. It's 3 hours of entertainment. Now, granted, they cover multiple sports, and just covering the LCS, maybe that's not enough. Maybe this needs to be like a Riot global thing. Like the LoL Esports YouTube channel becomes a, I don't know, Riot Esports Network or LoL Esports Network, for those that know what that's referencing. God bless. But I wanted to take a look back because there's a lot of shows that we're missing now that I think could make comebacks. Starting with my personal favorite, Lane X Lane. This is a direct ripoff of the show Around the Horn from ESPN, where you bring in multiple people to debate points. They can be pretty serious points. They can also be joke points. You can have a ton of fun with it. Raz hosted it for a while, and they had like a myriad of guests, unlike Around the Horn, which always had kind of like a staple. Like you had returning crews that would always pop up. They were all typically affiliated with ESPN in some way, shape, or form, or a consistent cast. For the LCS version, you'd have some personalities pop up. I think Freak was there multiple times. Mark Z would show up. But then they started going elsewhere. They got people like Jack and Steve. Some content creators like Vienna, I think, was on there. And while the special guests that came on weren't bad, like looking back at like that Jack and Steve episode, they held back on a lot of stuff because they're owners and they're not willing to really fully speak their mind because it could impact their team, other teams. They get too worried about that. That's why content creators and like the Riot affiliated people, I think, were the best guests on this show because they just went all out. They have full-time jobs. They're secure. They didn't care. It was great. Freak was probably my favorite guest on this show, bar none. But apparently it didn't do all that well, partially because they put the show on as a lead-in to the LCS rather than just like a weekday program, which this would do incredibly well in if you just had it every single week, especially like a LoL Esports, like general global format. Yeah, this would be great. The second show that we've been kind of missing was like actual Family Feud, which was called LCS Countdown. It was a game show similar to Are You Smarter Than, but it felt a little bit more formal in a way. I don't really think there's a need to bring this one back. I just wanted to call it out that it was interesting to have like 8 people up there with a host. Are You Smarter Than really kind of highlights the players. This kind of, again, felt more like content creators kind of embracing things. I would love to see like content creators versus players, but we kind of already have this. The other one, I'm not sure if people remember this, was like right on the other side of COVID, we had the Bud Light League Lounge, which was typically done by, I believe, Dash, and then I think Latigris. I'm not sure if she's still going by that name. The two of them hosted it. They brought on players to basically do college party drinking games. And I'm not going to lie to you, the conversation, like while it wasn't bad and casual, it's so weird to see 4 people trying to play beer pong without the party atmosphere around them. It's not bad, but the setting just feels weird. And I get what Bud Light was trying to do. They were trying to like give it that college feel and do things that felt relatable to, that 21 to 25 audience. But you got to know the setting. Like, the reason why college game day works so well is because you go on campus with all the drunk people and just start hyping them up and do like dumb segments that like get the crowd going. Beer pong in front of a group would be way better than just beer pong in front of a camera, where players also have to come out of their shells a little bit more. Masterminds was a series led by Kobe, which I'll be honest, this wasn't really my forte. When I think about league content for me that entertains me, it's always like discussions like about the game, about the matches upcoming. It's not like in-depth, like weird builds and weird comps that you're trying out. That feels more like a personal YouTube thing. Granted, you're like exposing the pros and you're trying to get them to do these weird drafts and all this at like the highest level and try and get it to work. But like this very much felt like kind of a Kobe show that like tried to get the players to be up front and center. But I would love to see Kobe try this like on his own channel without the massive production budget of this. Like I felt like it was a little too much money going into this for what it like actually produced. But I would love to see it as an individual YouTube series. Like there are certain things that you got to understand are great TV programming. There are certain things that are just good YouTube content and don't need that budget because the audience might just be a little bit too niche. Next Level was basically pros before pros, but with industry people instead. Rick Fox notably appeared on the show alongside like Sneaky, and I forget who else was on. There's a meme that came out of that show, but I cannot remember what it was. Don't really think this show needs to come back. Pros has kind of taken its place, and I think that serves its purpose quite well. Replay Files, while one of the fan favorite series, it's not coming back, as evident by the fact that Esports Garage, which if you haven't checked out their channel, be sure to do so. It's basically Replay Files run by the same two guys, including Pastry Time, that did Replay Files, just on their own individual esports channel. And yeah, I think that kind of serves its purpose. It's there, just separate. I haven't seen This or That in a while. It was like an LCS staple piece for a while. I think it kind of ran its course for sure. But I don't know. I always kind of like it. I guess with like the rotating cast between like Jat kind of going away to coaching and then coming back, and then like the rotating, it lost its appeal. When you had like the two main hosts for the longest period of time, I think that was like where it found its sweet spot. I don't think coming back like this could really be like it's a good 10-minute content piece. It's not like a weekday show type thing. And finally, the one that everybody loved, the comedy series Catching Up with Double Lift. Again, great YouTube content, phenomenal. Not really something I affiliate with ESPN, but also Mark Z's commissioner now, and that was more his direct pet project, his sense of humor, his style. That's not really something that somebody else can come in and emulate. It has to like be the guy that's like leading the charge on that. So why do I bring up all these shows? What are we diving deep into the LCS archives for? Well, the answer is pretty simple. I'm not sure if we quite use our creators in the League of Legends space in the right way for Riot. And to be clear, this is not on the creators before anybody like gets outraged by this. The creators are kind of missing from the main channels that you would associate them with. Like when you look towards ESPN, and I get it's kind of an old model and like has its issues, but like even if you go to more modern examples of like Barstool, SiriusXM, they are paying for creators to come in and give them a product that they can put on their platform to then sell to advertisers and basically act as like the middleman to do that. Now, granted, Call Her Daddy, for example, could have done it on their own, but if SiriusXM wants to pay you $100 million to do it on their platform because they want to attract people there, then fine. For League of Legends, like your whole appeal is that you want to get people to play the game and be endemic to Riot products. So I'm confused when you already have a lot of these people in the LPP program, when you already have so many creators that already make content around League of Legends, why wouldn't you just pay them some licensing fees to move some of those shows, move like some of their stuff over onto your channels as well? Put it directly in the client with Dom and Cadrill's face. Like we have so many incredibly talented creators across the space that make a ton of content, but like it's spread across so many different channels. And it's like you could consolidate all that for the benefit of League. If you truly are like a marketing arm, if esports is becoming this marketing tool rather than its own like standalone sports product, then paying these creators to put content on your platform and on your channels that you can directly integrate into, say, the client itself, that's marketing spend for you. It helps raise awareness for the game and push the esport. I'm not saying there needs to be a Riot Esports network anymore. We've seen the likes of G4 and, like the 20 billion different channels that have popped up as time has gone on all fail at this point. And maybe bringing this up just as me wanting Lane X Lane to come back, and that's the ultimate ulterior motive for this video and trying to like push for its return in some capacity for the LCS as like a weekday show. But just in general, does it not feel like Riot doesn't fully utilize creators in like their most optimal way, especially those that can create like weekly shows or weekly products? I mean, to circle back on Pat McAfee, it's not like he couldn't have done everything that he had on his own. He absolutely could have. But when you make it bigger and grander and give them a budget, it just becomes this larger than life thing that College Game Day has become. The Pat McAfee show is now integrated with ESPN and is wildly successful as its own thing on ESPN. Maybe part of the thing with League of Legends is that none of this is at scale yet where you need a bigger budget and you need these things. Like when you take Kadriel outside of his room in the studio creating content, like does it elevate it to the point where it makes sense to put it on there? And is it enough of a return for Riot to have all that stuff on their main channel? I think so. Should lead to more esports fans, more direct sales. But honestly, I'm just an individual creator doing my own thing, so I'm not going to sit and act like I know best for Riot. Ultimately, I truly do just want Lane X Lane back. Get me on the show, please.